Worse decisions will haunt you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to what might be the most exciting week yet of BEC League of Legends with AGSB Esports. Because today we have AGSB versus the only team that I've seen beat them. Bridgewater, BTC, they are the team that beat them in last season's semi-finals, and now we see a rematch of BTC versus AGSB in this group stage game of Season 3. And so let's just have a look at the picks here. For AGSB, it's pretty much standard. It's what I'd expect almost all across the board. That Jinx pick in Vilfire is something you either see the Jinx or you see the Xayah or you see the Kai'Sa. You know when you've got Vilfire on the team, you're going to get one of those picks. The Olaf on Lemon Curd, along with his Nunu, is also a signature pick for him. The Ryze, along with the Syndra, for example, is the mid laners. Is one of the mid laners' signatures. The only outlier here, I would say, is the Nautilus, but obviously that's a result of BTC they have faced against AGSB before, and they know that one of their strengths is in that Rakan for NHX, which he has played, I think, every single game. So they're obviously taking away that Rakan, which is obviously such a strong and such a crucial pick for that draft of AGSB, and making them instead have to take that Nautilus for the support. So we'll see how that goes, because Nautilus is a bit of a different kind of support for NHX. Not quite the same slipperiness as Rakan, but certainly what he lacks in slipperiness he makes up for in that tankiness, and he still has that catching potential that Rakan is so known for. The other one here is that Mordekaiser in the top lane that we are used to seeing Ewan in the top lane pick kind of fighting heavy champions, and champions that once they get to lead in that top lane they can snowball. And so I'm not surprised at all to see the Mordekaiser in that lane picked up by Ewan, and that will be facing up against a Nasus, so we really shouldn't be worried for the Mordekaiser in that lane against the Nasus. Nasus isn't going to be looking to fight him and isn't going to be looking to kill him, so he should be okay to perhaps get some pressure down onto this Nasus, especially in the early levels when Nasus will be lacking in that crucial damage inside of his Q stacks. As for the rest of the team, that remains to be seen. So we're just getting into loading screen here, and as soon as that happens, we might be able to catch a glimpse of what the mastery points looks like on both teams. I'm sure we know what to expect by now, kind of looking at AGSB at their picks. But it will be interesting to see what Bridgewater look like. Okay, we've got into loading screen now. We'll just load that up. Stream taking some time to update with what's going on my screen for some reason, but there's a look. Obviously the Hecarim for Bridgewater, something that he's obviously proficient on. He's under 50k and he's Mastery 7, which is generally a good thing if you're able to reach that Mastery 7 before that 50k mark. The rest of the team, however, there is that Nasus, Mastery 5, but again, we can't really expect AGSB to be too fearful of that, in the early game at least, whilst Ewan is able to exert that pressure with that Mordekaiser in the top lane. It might be the case that the two best players for both teams are these junglers, and I'd be quite excited if we saw a lot of action going on in the jungle between this Olaf and this Hecarim. And remember, this is the team that were able to beat AGSB in last season, so this certainly isn't going to be another one-sided game like we often find in some of these weeks. I do expect to see a kind of high level of competition, and Bridgewater certainly to be able to give AGSB a run for their money. Put on those objective timers for you guys. So AGSB, this is really unconventional for them, starting all 5 people in the same place, potentially even with an invade. I presume that's because of this Nautilus, and this might be an early first blood, 50 seconds. That's already first blood on the board for the mid laner for that rise for AGSB. And that's something that which AGSB have really never done before. We always see that same 5-point start every single game from them, and suddenly this game, I guess because they have the Nautilus, they decide they have that agency to go into the enemy jungle to go as 5 players and look for a kill, which ultimately it does pay off. They get that kill onto the Blitzcrank for 50 seconds and cement an early lead, especially as all players of AGSB were able to pick up an assist for that. And the mid laner will certainly be able to benefit from an early tier now. We already see in the top lane Ewan trying to get down as much damage as he can as Nasus is in these early levels, and we're also seeing some of that fighting in the jungle that I was so hoping to see. It looks like Hecarim's in a bit of trouble here. He might go down, forced to flash, and that is a perfect axe throw from Lemon Curd to secure the kill. But quickly after, Blitzcrank is able to redeem himself from that early first blood and get Kai'Sa a kill in return. We're not even 3 minutes in and it's now 2-1. There's been 3 kills already. We're certainly seeing action earlier on than we usually expect to. It looks like Ewan really isn't afraid to push up far. Even though that Hecarim is topside, he really doesn't seem to worry about that too much. And he will be pushing that far into the Nasus, getting a lot of damage down. Lemon Curd now hovering around that topside river. So is Hecarim. Hecarim's coming in for a gank onto Ewan. Ewan already knocked back by the Hecarim, but the Nasus is forced to flash and run away. The Conqueror is activated from Ewan, and Nasus just about gets out by the skin of his teeth. Now another fight going on in mid lane, but I doubt we'll see much fruition of anything going on there. But mainly there, the flash being taken away from the Nasus is quite big for you, and certainly because that Mordekaiser is looking to be able to drag him in with the claw at later levels, and certainly perhaps he'll be able to get a kill within the next 5 minutes on that top lane. The hook just finds the mark there onto Nautilus, and that's a very, very quick kill from the Blitzcrank and Kai'Sa bot lane from Bridgewater. Just about catching the Nautilus off guard. NHX thought he'd be able to get back to safety with his own hook of his own, but unfortunately the interaction didn't quite pan out how he wanted it to, and ultimately he paid the price of his life there. Again, we're seeing this Mordekaiser just doing so much onto the Nasus, and remember, crucially, Nasus no flash this time around, and so we might see something going on, although Nasus getting up to level 6 soon, he'll start having some of the more survivability he needs to survive in this lane against the Mordekaiser. A leveled lead by Lemon Curd means that Hecarim is forced to run away from that, and this might be an early Drake. They're spotted on the control ward, but they don't care too much about that as they take that out very quickly. The level 3 Hecarim is unable to outsmite the Olaf at all, so he's just going to concede that 6-minute Drake from AGSB. It must be quite frustrating for both top laners here, as Ewan obviously just wants to be able to get a kill onto this Nasus, but Nasus is protected by the turret, and equally Nasus just wants to be able to farm, but every time he wants to and tries to farm, that claw comes up, that Death's Grasp from Mordekaiser takes him away from the wave. Mordekaiser probably will be looking to freeze this wave now to force Nasus to push up. And Hecarim has now been severely pushed behind. He's now only 20 CS to 37 CS. He's still trying to take that blue there. He's really kind of been bullied by Lemon Curd just in the past few minutes. And so that's putting him on a back foot in both levels and in CS. It looks like the freeze hasn't worked out too well for the Mordekaiser. He just re-pushes the wave. And now I wonder why Vigar is going up to the red buff. If that were blue buff, it would make more sense to me. Judging by the question mark pings, even the Rise is wondering why on earth the Vigar went up there. But Vigar does use barrier there for that small skirmish between Rise and himself. So that's not a crucial summoner spell, but certainly a summoner spell advantage for AGSB. Now it looks like Blitzcrank is looking to engage on both these members of the AGSB bot lane. Both members getting quite low in health, but Bridgewater's bot lane is forced to back off, as equally now Quantum on that Hecarim is forced to back off. The flash used in addition to the E to get him away to safety. And now it doesn't look like Vigar is having too much fun, nor indeed the Nasus, as the Nasus will probably be the first to fall. He activates the ult. The lifesteal saves him some time, but he will eventually go down. This tower push into the bottom lane first turret of AGSB. They're not going to dive there. The Blitzcrank and the Kaiser, instead they're going to run off, and this will probably be first turret then in the top lane, using this Herald that Lemon Curd did get at 8 minutes, in line with the kind of jungle lead he's been getting on top of this Hecarim. Another hook from Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank has been insane with these hooks, but the hook from NHX brings him back to safety, and now a teleport from Rise might get up onto this. Blitzcrank just gets away, but unfortunately the Kaiser is not as lucky. The Kaiser's fate is to die there, whilst the Blitzcrank just about gets out. The teleport used really well to turn that fight around for AGSB, and now they're looking at a 2-kill advantage and a Drake advantage and a first tower advantage, as they got in that top lane. A few plates perhaps are about to be claimed by this Jinx in the bottom lane. And it looks like this Hecarim isn't able to have as much agency in this game as perhaps he was looking to do at the beginning. Every time we look top lane, we just see a constant harassment from the Mordekaiser onto Nasus, and it looks like Nasus is just going to go down again. That is basically 100-0, whilst Mordekaiser's pretty much on full health. it's not a good look for the Nasus, as he's really getting bullied. Mordekaiser now pushing onto that tier 2 tower in the top lane. And now it looks like both teams are positioning around this Mountain Drake. Second Drake of the game. Already started by Lemon Curd and the rest of his teammates. And there isn't really any way that Hecarim is able to steal this. The route from Jinx makes sure that he can't get close. And there will be a Blitzcrank death for Bridgewater as well to seal the deal for AGSB there. Now, as much as Hecarim wants to be able to do something against this Ryze, he's just unable to. There's a level lead here with 3 levels, level 9 on the Ryze compared to 6 on the Hecarim, and so as much as he'd like to defend that tower, he's unable to against the Ryze. But now perhaps Lemon Curd has bit off a bit more than he can chew. He does get 1 kill on the Kai'Sa, and perhaps that was a bit of a poor play from the Kai'Sa to stay there, because if she had have left, they'd have still very much have got the kill onto Lemon Curd, because he was in a bad position, but nonetheless he does go down to Bridgewater, and that's a shutdown, I believe, onto... In fact, I don't think it is a shutdown, because of the nature of how shutdowns work now. That kill, that second kill that Olaf got, wouldn't have actually counted towards the shutdown until after the fight, so I don't think they get a shutdown there, but certainly perhaps relieving some pressure from the jungler, allowing Hecarim to farm up a bit and to perhaps match him in terms of CS. Now 2 members of AGSB coming down bottom lane. Blitzcrank and Kai'Sa certainly do notice, and they do take their leave in time, but now for some reason Nasus thinks he can fight this. There is an ultimate that Mordekaiser has that means that Hecarim's help isn't going to amount to much. I presume the Hecarim and Nasus kind of forgot about that ultimate, or perhaps didn't really bring it into the equation of their plans there. They just thought they were going to be able to 2v1 him. Unfortunately, it's a bit difficult to 2v1 Mordekaiser with that ultimate. Hecarim now forced to back away, which probably means significant damage onto that top lane tower. There's certainly significant damage going on in this bot lane tower, and onto this Blitzcrank, who will go down along with the tower, and a push from the 3 members of AGSB secures quite a hefty advantage for them at the 15th minute of this game. I mean, I feel like I've seen this 100 times already, this top lane duel between Nasus and Mordekaiser. Every time we just see him drag the Nasus back in with that Death's Grasp, activate his Q and his passive, and get a bit more damage down onto Nasus than Nasus would want. Now Blitzcrank coming, he probably is looking to be able to hook this Mordekaiser in, and certainly they might be able to get a 1v2 kill, but Mordekaiser notices the Blitzcrank, he's backing off already. He knows what might be happening. Kai'Sa even was looking towards going towards the top lane if a fight had started between Mordekaiser and the other 2. But the fight doesn't start, and now Lemon Curd is looking around that Rift Herald. The hook from Blitzcrank means that he has to run away here. The teleport, though, might ensure his safety. Mordekaiser is certainly an imposing figure for Bridgewater. They're not looking to fight that, so much so that Vigar is very quick to use Flash there to get out of anything that Mordekaiser can do to him. This might be the second Rift Herald of the game for AGSB, and both very early on. Drake has just spawned as well, so I would not be surprised if Lemon Curd was now looking down towards that, as there's been really no way that Hecarim can contest that this whole game, although Blitzcrank this game has been getting so many hooks, and this hook onto Rise just now really demonstrated that. So many good hooks the whole game. Unfortunately, not always translating into a kill for Bridgewater, as we saw just there, but certainly frightening for AGSB, and certainly making them use their summoner spells. And you can see that Rise has got flashed down now due to that hook from Blitzcrank, so they're certainly helpful for Bridgewater. A sigh of relief really for both teams. There's nothing at the moment, no fighting going on at the moment, but both teams are looking perhaps to have an ARAM fight very soon. 3 members of AGSB now, 4 members of AGSB in the mid lane, and 4 members also of BTC in the mid lane. The ultimate comes down from Nautilus, also the root from the Jinx will ensure that Vigar is rooted up, but Vigar will not go down. The Hecarim ult just about catches the members of AGSB, and now Vilfire is running for his life from that. He goes down to the Kai'Sa, and Kai'Sa now also down to the Olaf. Olaf running to get the remaining members of BTC, and the Proto Belt from Mordekaiser will ensure both of them go down. Hecarim is the only one remaining from that fight. Obviously, the Nasus just now coming from his fight in the top lane against the Mordekaiser to defend against this Rift Herald mid lane, but the Rift Herald's going to survive that first turret and might be able to get pushed down onto the second one. It looks like they're just about defending from that, but that is a bad fight for BTC, and I doubt that Hecarim nor Nasus can do anything about that right now. Nasus just looking to get the Spirit Fire onto Nautilus there, but unable to prevent the back. Again, a moment of peace for both teams as they're recovering from that fight that just happened, which was definitely quite manic and quite crazy for both teams. Very much an ARAM-esque fight. But AGSB aren't going to really look for objective pressure after that fight. They're just going to continue farming, just slowly pushing these waves out. You can see this going on in top, which we have seen for the last 20 minutes. And the same thing going on in bot, just the Nautilus, the Jinx, and now Lemon Curd also coming to help. The Hecarim looking to do something with the E, but forced to ult out. But I think that's all she wrote for the Hecarim. Hecarim does go down, perhaps trying to bite off more than he can chew there, going in for the gank, but onto 3 members. I'm very surprised, in fact, that Mordekaiser hasn't taken this turret down yet, seeing as though we've seen him and Nasus hover around that tier 2 turret in the top lane so many times already. But that tier 2 turret in the bot lane does go down. Bridgewater unable to defend that. And at the moment, it just seems like a very kind of slow sinking ship for Bridgewater. They're not really able to get any advantages. But AGSB is certainly making advantages every few minutes, getting a new objective, pushing up just a bit further. But now this might be the time when the tables are turning for Bridgewater as they steal the Drake. But Vilfire is already on a triple kill, and that's going to be 4 kills on the board for AGSB, just as we think it might be going well for Bridgewater as they do steal the Inferno, and that's props to the Hecarim. But Vilfire does so much damage now, 5-1, and before this fight he was 2-1. And he did so much damage in that fight, getting the 3 kills, almost getting the quadra kill before Lemon Curd cleaned that up. Now it's just the Vigar left to stop them taking this Baron, and the chances that he's at... And as we say that, that's a second steal in a row. Vigar does go down. But can you believe it? The stun from the Vigar cage and the subsequent W actually means that BTC are able to get the Inferno and the Baron just a minute apart. And perhaps now this is the time for BTC to turn the tables, and perhaps now this is the time for them to get some advantages. They have the Baron, they can start looking to push. Well, absolutely, for AGSB, they want to wait for this next Infernal Drake to spawn, because as soon as they're able to get an Infernal Drake, they get an Infernal Soul. And if they get an Infernal Soul, we can imagine that surely they're able to win every one of these fights that they want to take against BTC. So it's just a matter of time for them before the Infernal Drake spawns. Lemon Curd forced to use ult to make sure that he cannot get hooked by the Blitzcrank. But it's a testament again to the proficiency on this champion by Kropmak on the Blitzcrank, that he's able to force so much out of AGSB's players just by the threat of his hook. Equally, Lemon Curd and Rise forcing so much out of this Nasus. Nasus now 0-5. It looks like he hasn't been having his best game. It's certainly against this extremely difficult to face Mordekaiser. Lemon Curd now, the ultimate will not save him. The ultimate might save Mordekaiser though. No, the Kaiser able to get a huge bounty there. 950 gold. Rise will survive for now, but if Blitzcrank gets the hook, he does not get the hook. Rise just about surviving. But a lot of gold coming out there. You can see that Kaiser got a kill onto Olaf, bonus bounty 600 gold, and then also bonus bounty 650 gold onto the Mordekaiser. So that is huge for Kaiser, because that's now looking at what, 900 plus 950 gold, 1850 gold, almost 2k gold there pretty much for Kaiser, just in one small fight. Just an overstepping perhaps of the Mordekaiser, the Rise, and the Olaf. It's very lucky, in fact, for the Rise that he did survive that fight, because they were just in the wrong position, and now Kaiser is probably going to be able to melt their health bars away with the items that she gets from those bounties. Certainly that we can imagine the Kaiser able to start matching up to the damage output of Vilfire on his Jinx. This tier 2 turret now only going down at the 27th minute after so many fights having occurred there. But perhaps now Mordekaiser is going to be taken down. He spots the Kaiser out, and he is looking as to whether he can fight that. The Kaiser also wondering whether she can fight it. They both decide to go their separate ways, and obviously now both teams setting up around this all-important 4th Drake for AGSB. If Bridgewater are able to prevent AGSB from getting these Drakes, that's really good for them. And that's all they want to do at this moment in time. Just make sure that this Infernal Soul isn't going to go down to AGSB. And Vilfire gets hooked. Firstly, he goes down immediately. Lemon Curd running with the use of his ultimate, but also a double kill for Kaiser will take him down. Nautilus on his last legs, as he will be the 3rd to fall from AGSB, and a 4th in Mordekaiser. Again, it's only Rise left. That is the Infernal Drake down for Bridgewater. There's no way that Rise is able to steal this, but they do drag it out of the pit just to make sure. And all of a sudden, Kaiser is awfully fed. And I say awful because it's awful for AGSB. The Kaiser is very scary. The Blitzcrank has always been scary. And the Vigar might start to be scary as he starts to stack more and as he starts to get items. And we can imagine if this game approaches the late game, then suddenly the outcome doesn't look as clear-cut as AGSB has presumed it to be throughout this game. Five minutes ago, all we were seeing was this slow march from AGSB, always gaining a new advantage every few minutes, always pushing just a bit further up towards BTC's base. But suddenly now we've seen an Infernal Steal from BTC, we've seen a Baron steal, we've seen another Infernal Drake taken, and multiple kills onto Kaiser as a new fight starts out. Nautilus already in a bad position, the Stoneplate used to get him out. Mordekaiser and Lemon are doing as much as they can in the backlines. Kaiser just about survives and is able to get the kill, and Vilfire using his orb walking skills against the Nasus. But unfortunately, the Nasus does not care and does end up taking down Vilfire. Nautilus also in a bad position. He's probably going to get taken down by Hecarim. Although I eat my words there, just about survives. But these fights are not going in AGSB's favour, and they have not been going in AGSB's favour for the past 5 minutes. Once again, the only person we see kind of on the map left for AGSB is the Rise. It feels like, although Lemon Curd and Ewan have been so strong on these tanky bruiser champions, they keep kind of just going a bit too far into the team of BTC and then being taken down by the damage from Kaiser and from Vigar. And it's also unfortunate for Vilfire that he does keep getting caught up in these hooks from Blitzcrank, which means that often in these fights, he'll just be taken down before he can actually do anything. We're seeing both teams setting up around this Baron. There is a vision advantage for Bridgewater in that Baron pit with that control ward. The Farsight used from AGSB just to ensure them a bit of vision to make sure that they aren't doing Baron. But there is a member advantage here for BTC, as Rise is all the way over in the bot side, and if BTC realise that, they will not hesitate to start a fight. Four members of AGSB now walking upwards, scouting out what's going on with BTC and just making sure that they don't start this Baron. And the Rise, pressuring the bot lane, going to push up on that inhib tower, is actually going to ensure that Kai'Sa is taken away from this fight. So this is probably a favourable 4v4 for AGSB. Without the Kai'Sa on BTC's side, this is probably a fight that they want to take. Kai'Sa just going to take down the Rise here. Rise almost able to get something in return, but he will die actually to the Kai'Sa. But the Baron will go down in the favour of AGSB. This is what they wanted all those minutes ago when Vigar stole it. And they finally might be able to get the push that they've so needed this whole game. Obviously, we've got another Infernal Drake spawning just in a few seconds. And like every past Infernal Drake, this is going to be highly contested. Because again, if AGSB get this, this is Dragon Soul for them, which is very huge for any potential fights that they want to make against BTC. And if BTC are able to get the third Infernal Drake, then that puts them in a Drake tie with AGSB, which means the next Drake they could have Dragon Soul. So this Drake is extremely important for both teams. AGSB already laying claim to the area around the Drake pit, but the teleport comes down from Nasus. Kai'Sa already doing so much damage onto the backline. The Nautilus is shredded by Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa running away, using the ult, but the Jinx will do so much damage. Nasus now running for his life. Vilfire able to get enough damage onto the Drake that the Jinx, secures that Drake and some kills in that team fight win for AGSB. And it looked like Kai'Sa was doing so well for BTC in that fight. And Kai'Sa certainly was doing so well for BTC. But as soon as Kai'Sa died to the Jinx, suddenly you see this Jinx, you see Vilfire doing so well. As we often do see Vilfire do on these champions. It looks like Blitzcrank and Hecarim just trying to defend. They do get the kill onto Lemon Curd, which perhaps prompts to AGSB to remove themselves from the base of Bridgewater. A huge wave knocking on that bot lane inhibitor as well from AGSB. But with this Infernal Soul finally for AGSB, it should be a lot easier for them. kind of death bush being set up here with the Blitzcrank and the Nasus and the Kaiser. The Blitzcrank will not find its mark, and Hecarim's Predator, it looks like he does not want to run into 4 members of his opponent's team. And so he'll just stop that right there, and both teams will not engage and will not fight. But it looks like they'll probably be coming in for a round 2 with this next wave. The Mordekaiser finds the Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank taking a bit of damage here. But still no fight breaking out. It seems like both teams are very scared to start a fight because both teams know the potential of what happens if their ADC gets caught out. If Villfire just gets one hook, as in if Blitzcrank hooks Villfire once, then that teamfight might be lost for AGSB, and equally perhaps if Nautilus hooks the Kaiser, it's the same thing happened already. The Blitzcrank taken down, the ultimate from Nautilus knocks them all up, and they're all being taken down. Nasus, the last one standing, is going to be taken down finally by Mordekaiser, and that's an ace for AGSB. That is the base for AGSB, and they are looking to get this revenge game and this revenge win against Bridgewater. Well, I said that this would probably be the most exciting week so far, and I certainly think it was. There were times when it looked like AGSB were faltering. Certainly in that time around kind of from 25 minutes to about 33 minutes. But they finally brought it back nearer the end and were able to close it out in a pretty solid fashion with that final teamfight win and with that final ace against BTC. But that will be all from me this week, and I'll see you next week.